Hey guys, what's up? This is thatguysean.com and I am with Michelle.
Hi.
Yes, so me and Michelle, we go way back.
Way back.
What grade were we in together?
Um,
Grade 4 and 5?
I think grade four, like okay,
Miss
teachers. We can
Santanon
we
or
can just
Mr. Banks or Mr.
Miss
Hornick?
Santanon, Mr. Banks for sure.
Yeah, that's
Remember
what
Miss
I mean.
Santanon? If you didn't have your schoolwork, she would dump your desk.
Dude, one time she dumped my desk. She dumped it and like I was so messy. Like all these books and papers were all on the floor and like garbage and trash.
Yeah.
And I remember I started crying, that bitch. And so I started crying. And then I remember I was like always thinking, I'll show her, I'll show her. And then I saw her one day. I was with my family in the mall and we ate at a restaurant and I got a bunch of ketchup on my shirt. Right. And I was like, and I was walking the mall, and then all of a sudden there she was. And she was like, I was like, then I was older, right? Maybe grade 7.
Yeah.
And she's like, Sean Cowan. And I was like, I've got food all over my shirt.
That's hilarious.
I know.
Yeah. Her rule was like, even if you knew your homework was at home and you
Yeah.
forgot it,
Yeah.
and it's just like, I don't care if your homework's at home. I don't care if you can't find it in your desk. I don't care if you didn't do it. I'm dumping your desk. It's like everyone was afraid of her. So like you better got it done and you better made sure that you didn't have that excuse that your dog ate your homework because
She was
she'll dump your
wild.
desk.
She was wild.
She was. My goodness.
And she was kind
Um,
of like attractive, I think. I was too young to notice, but
she was pretty. She was a pretty
right?
teacher.
Yeah. And she dressed like in
Yeah.
pantsuits and stuff. Like she was kind of,
She was pretty stylish.
yeah,
Um, But oh, do you remember Tracy in our class,
yeah.
grade four?
You shouldn't say too much about people, but
I know,
yeah,
sorry, but like she had the
yeah, I remember that.
hearing aid, right?
Yeah.
And whenever the teacher went in the hallway, he'd forget to turn off his mic. So the entire class would gather around her to figure out, okay, what are they saying in the hallway? What are the teachers saying in the hallway? It was
Whoa, that was
hilarious.
buried like deep in the back of my brain. That's
Yeah,
crazy. Okay,
pulling it out,
cool.
pulling it out.
Pulling it out. And so, and then you sent me pictures of like us in what was it, picture day for a whole class?
Yeah, it was like the class picture.
Yeah.
It was like
And you were really tall.
always tall. Like I
Yeah,
was 4'11" by the time I hit grade two.
that's
Like I
wild.
was bigger than who was grade two? I think it was Mrs. Easton and Mrs. Randall.
Oh,
And
I remember
Mrs.
them.
Easton was like the 5 foot nothing teacher.
No
And here
way.
I am in grade two, like basically her height.
Right.
And they're like, all right, well,
Yeah.
hi, welcome to this level.
Would you say that do you think we grew up in a small town? Kind of?
At that time, I would say that Hamilton was pretty small.
Yeah, and we were
Uh,
in the mountain, right? It was like really suburban.
yeah, it was still in development. I remember
Yeah.
because I my family we moved into the townhouses nearby where we went to school,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was still like in development. Like the link hadn't even been built
Yeah,
yet.
me too. Same with me. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember like we had like forest area behind
Yeah,
us, and
there's
like
forest and
yes, there
fields.
was there was forest there, and we even
Yeah,
had like a little like fort in the forest, like
yeah,
the
yeah.
kids in survey. And when we heard that the link was going to be built, we were so upset. Like, I'm like, let's start a petition to stop this link. They
Yeah,
can't take away our clubhouse.
yeah.
And like, I went around getting signatures, and like, my mom, like,
Wow, good for
kind of
you.
helped me like with that, and submitted it, and it still got built because
Yeah, I know.
it was part of the original like infrastructure from like way,
Yeah,
way, way back when they were first doing like city planning for Hamilton.
right. That's really wild because to be a part of that, right? Like that's how like I remember when they first finished it, you were allowed to like go and rollerblade on it if you wanted to. They paved it, and I remember just going on it and just thinking, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't good.
But at the same time, like I remember when they finished building it just before they opened it, and like a group of us, we went out with our rollerblades, like we rollerbladed over. We got like 5 popsicles for $1 from the Avondale en route, and we just like rollerbladed down like the on and off ramps, and like we're like, and then I'm like, hey guys, let's all lay down on the road, because this will be the last time we could ever do something like this and be like, you know what, I laid down on that road. Like, it was so cool. We did it. We all just like laid down in the middle of the link, and just to be like, to say that we did that, like, it was pretty cool.
It was cool. And I was gonna say, like, you know, mention that Hamilton was such a small town because none of us knew that being tall was such a good thing. So we all like would teach you about it, but I think like our mentalities, we didn't realize like being tall is awesome in the rest of the world.
It was eventually, like, it became awesome when I got older. Like when I hit high school, oh my goodness, I saw so many other tall people, and I was like, oh, my people are here. There are people as taller than me. Oh my goodness, this is insane. Like, I've never had that happen before. So I was like, yeah, this is awesome. It like brought my confidence up a bit more, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like, and then as I got older, like, and got into modeling, and that really came in handy, because I can't walk in heels for anything. Like, I suck at walking in heels. Like, the most I can do is like kitten heels. Or like I can walk in big platform boots, but it's like the ratio of like how high like the heel is. Depends on like whether or not I can walk in them properly. But so like typically I'm taller than like all the other models. So when they put on the super high stilettos, they finally like bump up to my height with me in like little kitten heels. It's kind of funny.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. I'm just like, oh, I can get away with wearing flatter shoes, super comfy. You know, I can make it down the runway without like having any of those like embarrassing trip up moments. Like, this is great. I like it.
Yeah, you don't realize like I was in the airport in Amsterdam, and I came up to everybody's crotch. Like everyone. Like old people, young people, these people are gigantic, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm from a small part of North America. Like,
yeah, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. Like, you find your little niche, and you know.
For sure. But I'm just saying, like, it's so funny. Like back then, like when certain things that were so terrible for us, we just didn't realize. You're in such a small little fishbowl almost.
Yeah, not until you actually go out and you travel and you meet other people. Yeah. And, you know, you just have random conversations, or, you know, so you can get other perspectives of like how it is in other parts of the world, and, you know, just different ways of life and thinking. And yeah, it's great.
So do you think when you were like really young, do you think you were shy, or were you like a leader?
100% shy.
Shy, eh?
Like, yeah. It's funny though, like I was a very independent person. So group work was always not my biggest strength. And if I did get into a group, I'd usually tend to like take things over, because I'm also a perfectionist. And want to get good grades. So I'm like, okay, this is the game plan, people. Everybody would be like, okay, sure, let's do it. So I guess in that respect, I can like kind of become a leader, but for the most part, it's just like, no, hang back, do my own thing. Like, don't make any noise so that I don't look stupid.
Are you the same way now?
I still prefer not to, you know, get into leadership type roles, but if it calls for it, like, I will. And it depends on the situation. Like, if it's something that really interests me, then yeah, I'll take over. She's like, all right, I know this. I can do this. Let's do this. Come on.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So it depends on like what kind of turns you on, right? Like what you resonate with.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing about, like, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was like,
going to bring that up.
Grade 1. And the great kind of superpower that I like to kind of refer to is a hyperfocus. a lot of people with ADHD, if it's something that really interests them,
Right.
they really get into it. Like they hyper focus,
Right.
like to
Right.
the point where everything else kind of gets tuned out.
Sure.
That kind of works to my advantage sometimes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a correlation with that because like I've always been like I just get obsessed with something and then that's my thing for 2 or 3 years. And
Yeah,
it's
that
just
sounds about right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if someone's like, you got to do this, and I'm like, my manager said to me a couple of days ago, he's like, so are you going to start being like doing teamwork? And I just said no.
Why would I do that when
But I
I
was
can
being really
like,
sincere. I was like, it's not going to happen.
yeah.
Okay, but yeah, okay, that's really cool. So when you find that out, what do they do? Do they start? How do they start helping you?
So it was a very interesting and kind of a long process for me from what I remember, because I was basically daycare age when they started, and I would go to Shadok Hospital
Well,
and
should
just talk. Yeah, to Shadok. Does it even exist anymore? I
they
don't even know.
they have it's near the college, right? Mohawk College.
Yeah, yeah.
A men's mental spot
Mental
there.
health.
Mental
Yeah.
health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I my mom would take me and basically drop me off with this assessor slash therapist, or I don't know who she was, but
Right.
all I was told was like, just talk to her, answer questions. There were toys in the room. I would like play, and she would ask me questions, and I would just answer them.
Right.
And then at a certain point, they actually had me do like some testing, like actual, like as if I were in school, but I'd have to like answer these questions. And I remember getting frustrated with some of them, especially when like I would ask for help and she wouldn't give me any help. And that was actually part of the testing process to
No
see like
way.
how you react under like certain stresses and stuff. And I
Right.
didn't know that, I'm
Right.
just in daycare, right?
Hurry up, bitch. Yeah.
Right? I'm like, why won't you help me? You're an adult. You're supposed to help me. What's wrong with you? Like, come on.
Right.
So by the end, by the end of all the testing, what they determined was I have ADHD, but I also have the social awareness of a 16-year-old.
Right.
So it was very interesting because, when I reflect back on it, even though I was in daycare, I hated when adults would treat me like a child, even though I was a child. Like,
Right.
any sort of baby talk, or like, you can't do this. And my mom tells me consistently, like the first full sentence that I ever said was, "You're not the boss of me."
Right. Yeah.
So it was just like, I always felt like, I was in charge of my own life at
Right.
a
Very
very
similar.
young age.
Yeah, mine was similar. I always would tell them, don't touch me. Don't touch me. I just
I got
want to be
this.
left alone.
Yeah.
Not in a weird way, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I ended up causing some trouble when I was in daycare because of it. So my mom actually ended up developing a really good relationship with my daycare teacher at the time.
Okay.
And they decided that the best thing for me would be to basically challenge me in terms of learning. So while everyone else was doing their typical daycare stuff, I would be pulled aside and, hey, let's teach you how to read. So I actually learned how to read in daycare. By the time I hit grade 1, I was already reading novels, which, by the way, made the Book It program so easy. I got so many pizzas, dude. Like, it was funny. Like, my mom refused.
Me too. It was like all I had to do was read the book, and then I also had to do a book report, and then we got to go to Pizza Hut with my family.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Pizza Hut, and like you got the button, and you had to collect so many stars before you got a free pizza.
Dude, I did it too. I used to sit alone and read for like hours. I could really get into the books.
Yeah.
I could go into that world. I loved fantasy, and I was just like, yes. I could like smell, like when he would talk like the dwarves were having little fires. I could like smell that, like it was insane.
Yeah, I think it's great. Like you have that wicked imagination. Like you could see it, you could smell it, you could taste it, like you could feel it if you want to. Like
it's right.
It was best.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'd listen to music. I'd have like David Bowie on or something and be reading, and I'm like, This is the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Who needs anything else?
Exactly. Friends, I'm okay.
Friends. I have them in the book. These are my friends now.
Yeah, I'm the coolest boy in the world. Okay.
Exactly. And that's why I turned into, like, by middle school, I was the one with the head in the book all the time because
Right now, I kind of started to leave that though. Like I started to get a little too popular, and I started to
okay.
stop studying and stuff for a little while. So I
Well, I think
always regret that actually.
I found that my novel reading decreased when I hit high school.
High
Because
school,
when
yeah.
we hit high school, that's when they started the new curriculum.
Where did you go?
Well, where didn't I go?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so typically, just for people who don't know, like we started off at Pauline Johnson Public School,
Right,
like
right.
grades 1 to grade 5.
Yeah.
And then for middle school, we would transfer over to Cardinal Heights, which was
Yeah.
right next door.
Right.
And that was from grade 6 to grade 8.
Yeah.
That has since been torn down, by
Yeah.
the way. That school
That's
doesn't
crazy.
exist anymore, which is kind of sad, but kind of a good thing because I remember there being like an asbestos problem with it a while back. But in any case,
I'm like, I can't focus. Yeah. Okay.
can't focus. Off topic. So why is that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it asbestos? Maybe I don't know.
I'm like, I could smell the fires in the book.
Am I having a stroke? No, it's just the school. It's fine.
Exactly.
So yeah, and then from there, because the next feeder school from there would be Hill Park,
Right.
but because I had such a hard time with being bullied in middle school, I didn't want to go near those people. Like I didn't want to go where they were going at
Did you
all.
go to Cardinal Heights?
I went to Cardinal Heights, yeah,
Yeah,
middle
okay.
school.
Okay, but I
Yeah.
don't think we were in similar classes in middle school.
We kind of got separated. Like they
Yeah,
put us in like different, like,
you did.
6-1, 6-2,
Right. It was
6-3. Like,
smaller.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, it was actually multiple breakdowns because we had a lot more students coming into the
that's
middle
right.
school.
Yeah.
So it was actually a boom of students within that one. Like, so it wasn't just all in the school. We also had portables too, right? Because there were so many students.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So from there, I ended up talking to my mom. I'm like, I can't go near these people. let's start fresh. Maybe I can reinvent myself.
Right.
And so I ended up heading over to St. Thomas More, STM.
Okay. Okay. Yep. I knew some kids there.
Yeah, not Catholic, but they accepted me anyway, and I didn't have to worry about like what to wear because that was another thing that I got made fun of in school for was not having the latest Nike and Adidas brands. Like,
Same with me. Same with me.
yeah, yeah. So like I wanted to avoid that.
Stupid thing that was going on back then. If you
Uh-huh.
didn't have
Yeah.
Nike or Adidas, like how lame that was.
It was so lame. Like they totally judged you based on what you wore, and what I wore is basically like Value Village, hand-me-downs,
Me too.
buy
Like
away.
Village, but we were so much like ahead of our time though.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although I remember my fashion in middle school was more like oversized baggy jeans with a t-shirt and a plaid pullover and suspenders, like
Right.
super grunge. Like that
Right.
was
That's cool.
didn't
though,
really
right?
have to think about it. Yeah.
Like, now you'd be crushing it on Instagram,
Oh,
right?
100%. 100%. Except I've kind of moved away from the grunge style. So
Right,
it's more alternative. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I started off at STM and then I was there for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I ended up switching over to Delta
Yeah.
High School, which was
That was
downtown.
was that downtown? Oh, okay. I thought
was
that was in the
downtown.
country.
Yeah, it was in the Delta in downtown Hamilton.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
So,
it was
and the reason,
Bimbrook. Do you know that one
Pardon?
high school out by Bimbrook?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay, go. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, then you
It
went to.
doesn't matter. We don't care about that high
Oh
school.
no, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
This is very
But yeah.
nostalgic.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I went there for 1 year. The whole reason why I went there is because we ended up moving down the mountain, so it would just be difficult to get to STM at that point.
Okay.
Plus, like, there were other issues that developed there, like when Columbine happened.
Yeah.
I was already like wearing like nice form-fitting long black jackets, like trying to be fashionable. And then one day I go to sit with my friends at lunch and they all get up and move to a different table.
Ugh.
And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
So I go over to them and I'm like, what's going on? Why are you guys leaving me all alone? And they're like, it's the 1-year anniversary of the Columbine shooting and you're wearing a trench coat. So it's like, excuse me, first of all, you guys suck as friends. Secondly, this is not a trench coat. This is a black form-fitting jacket. Get your fashion straight. And then I turned around, walked away, and joined the OAC crowd and like had them as friends for like that year and pretty much made friends with like older people back.
Yeah, that's always a good
from that point
idea.
Yeah.
They all had cars. They all had cars.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part. They were like, it was interesting, an interesting experience though, because it was like a lot of like Italian families and like it was very diverse and I was like the only white girl in the school and I'm just like, I'm cool with this. This is fine. This is pretty cool. I like it. I'm like learning so many different things.
So, do you know what your language is?
So from what I know, based on like some genealogy stuff that some of my family's already done, is I have Irish, German, British, French, and that's pretty much all I know at this point.
Yeah, so I recently did my brother did a genealogy test, and we're 65% Irish, 30% British, and like 5% German.
Awesome.
And my mom claims we're also French, but we're like, Mom, we're not seeing it in the data. She's like, I swear to God.
I swear, it's somewhere in there.
She's gonna watch this. I love you, Mom. We're French. I know we're French. Definitely. Okay, cool.
Hilarious.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. There was so many Italian families, and I love that, and I love Italian people. But there were a lot of Italian families during our high school years in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Maybe there still is, but there's a strong Italian community. Portuguese.
Yeah.
Italian.
Well, especially, you know, when you're in like the Catholic school community.
Oh, right.
Because, yeah, that's just like, it's the whole Roman Catholic sort of upbringing, especially amongst like European, Italian families. So that just gets carried down.
Sure.
Yeah, but I was really great in religion class.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I killed it. Like,
like you just could memorize everything, or you liked it, or?
I liked it. I thought it was very interesting, like all the different, you know, sort of things. I kind of look at it as like, I'm not a religious person myself.
Yeah.
So, but I grew up, you know, reading Bible stories and yeah. So it's just more of the, like the moral compass behind it.
Yeah.
Rather
Hamilton has a strong church community, or at least it used to when we were growing up, for sure.
Yeah.
Because what I did though, when I got into high school, I started like drinking and partying a lot, kind of grade 8, grade 9. And then then I became a Christian though. Like my dad passed when I was like in grade 9. So after he did, we started going to church with my mom, and then I eventually just became a Christian, but like really serious about it. So like the rest of high school, I didn't have a girlfriend. I would just go to like church and play music and sing and pray all the time. Like I got super devout. And then after university, I kind of was like, I think I'm good. But definitely still went to church. I still pray and stuff, but like, yeah, anyway, so that's interesting.
Well, it's funny because when I was a teenager, I did go to church.
Yeah.
But it was a non-denominational church.
Okay, cool.
And basically I was part of like the youth group there.
Yeah.
And they were more about like the spiritual aspects of, you know, getting to where you want to be, like to be happy, to be content with your life, and be good to other people. And
Yeah.
yeah, I found that it like really helped to kind of center me
Me
sometimes.
too. It really helped me.
Well, yeah, because like when you're a teenager, you're going through so many changes
Yeah.
and like kind of like you don't know what to do with yourself. So
Yeah.
like have sometimes, some of us turn to that as a
Right.
sort of a guiding path.
It just anchors you a little bit, I think. It's
Yeah.
if you're like unique or quirky, which I think both of us have those inside us. So it's just like just through those years, right? Just to get through those years. And then
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, please help me. I need help.
I mean, I'm insane. You did this.
I'm insane. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Something's happening. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. That's so interesting. There's so many similarities. When do you think you started to find yourself? Are you still doing that now? Because I'm still doing that now, but like,
Honestly, I'm pretty sure I found myself after my first life crisis at 25.
okay.
Basically, when I turned 25, I had a bit of a panic attack. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, even if I live to 100 years old, that's a quarter of my life gone. Like,
Okay.
done. It's
Yeah.
over. Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do with my life? Who am I? Like, I know my name. I know, I have a family.
25,
Like,
were you modeling at 25?
I was modeling even before
Yeah,
25.
but things were probably going pretty good though, compared to.
They were like overall, like I had some pretty good years. Like from the time I hit 18 pretty much until like nowish has been pretty good to me. Like there have been a couple rough spots where, you just go through changes, right? It's like just that life change where you kind of like, sure, it may seem horrible at that time, but technically you're leveling up in life.
Right,
So
right, right.
yeah.
So,
You hear like Mario in the background, like do 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 do.
no, I remember when me and you met up for coffee, maybe like 3, 4 years ago now.
Something like that. I have
Yeah,
zero concept of time,
me too, me
but
too.
I know we did it.
I know. Like sometimes like I'll like Facebook, a stupid Facebook or something, I'll be like, look at what you did 4 years ago. And I'm like, what the fuck? I thought that was like
Like I did that? What? Okay, cool. Great. Awesome. That was 9 years ago. I thought it was just like a couple years ago. What?
yeah.
No.
It's like you did this. I think I just saw one today. It was like you did this 10 years ago. And I was like, my beard looks ridiculous. What was I doing?
Everyone regrets their fashion choices that they made when they were younger.
Yeah.
Everyone.
That would be when I was 25 as well. So yeah, maybe I should have been having a crisis then. So you had that. How did you get over it?
Uh so basically it was just the whole realizing that I don't have to be a people pleaser,
Right.
to make my life good.
Yeah.
Uh, that I have to put myself first,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that the people who truly love and care about me and want to be in my life, they're the ones who will accept me for who I am, and everyone else can just go
Right.
away.
Right.
Like,
Right. Right. Yeah.
like it's and I'm okay with that. Like before I used to be really upset when that would happen. Like, oh, I thought they liked me. What did I do wrong? Like I would blame myself for it.
Sure, yeah.
But then I realized that, you know what? Not everyone's going to like you. And that's okay. Like that
Right.
is okay. And you got to tell yourself like not everyone will like you.
Yeah.
It's okay though. Like
Yeah.
you'll survive and you'll find your people. And
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing in life is to find your people, to
Yeah.
find your group that you resonate with, that you get along with, people who challenge you. I've been a very firm believer in surrounding myself with people smarter than me,
Right.
because then I learn something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I have something to kind of like contribute if there's something that they don't really know either. Like so, it's kind of like a give and take sort of a relationship, which is really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, there's this one guy I love, Seth Godin. I'm going to send you one of his YouTube videos. I think you'll really like him.
Okay.
Okay. He wrote a book called Purple Cow.
Okay.
And the book is like, these days there's so much going on. So if you want to make a difference in anything, like he focuses on advertising, any kind of business, you need a purple cow. So it pays to be, you should be really different, right? You don't want to run from it. And
No.
so, yeah, so I really loved it. And so he also wrote a book called Tribes. And in the book Tribes, he's just like, all you need is to find 100 people that are like your tribe, and whatever your business is, they'll support you. You don't need
Yep.
to win everyone. You just need to find your people.
Yep.
And then do
Even if you can count them on one hand,
yeah.
that's okay.
Right. So I was like recently, and this just happened like this year, I kind of had like a huge epiphany of like my people, like who responds to a lot of stuff that I put out, let's say Instagram or anything like that. They're always people that are different and quirky. They're just the first to message me. Yeah, you, a lot, and other people too, that'll just be like, hey dude, totally what you said, totally. And then I can see like who watched the video on the side, but like none of those people reply except for a couple of people that are also like very different.
Well, also don't forget, like I was kind of nervous to do this too, because I'm not really a talker per se.
Right.
It helps when, you have someone else who is very good at conversation and who can ask questions to kind of like trigger me into being like, okay, I can talk about that.
Yeah. I think we think very like similar. We've had very similar backgrounds, right? So it's like easy. And I remember when we met for coffee, it was like very easy conversation.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. Like, oh, this is very easy. But what did I want to say though? Yeah, anyway, also I did stand-up comedy for a little while. And like my brain kind of goes, it hops all over the place, really random, nonstop random. And like when I've tried to be like date normal people, it's very difficult. And I've had like people say to me, like I had one girl say to me, she was like, I don't really like you. She actually said that. She goes, I like to pick a topic and then I want to explore it from all different angles. She's like, you keep hopping around.
That's because we've already explored it within 2 minutes and we're done with it. So now we need to move on to the next topic because this topic is now boring.
Right.
So why would we want to stick on something that we have no interest in anymore? Let's move on to the next thing. We got it sorted. It's fine. Like,
so sometimes I get like fearful, like I'm so awkward. And then I try to act normal. I'm like, be normal, like normal people do. But like eventually I know my walk is gonna come out.
It will eventually. But you reserve that for the people who like actually get close enough to you, and then you're like, welcome to my life. This is who I am.
Right.
Will you run or will you stay?
Yeah. But one time I was at a table with like a bunch of comedians. We were having like drinks. A comedian invited me out one night to be like hang out with a bunch of them. This is like in Taiwan. And I remember I was sitting there and then I would say like a random thing and someone else would say a random thing. We'd all giggle and then stop. And then someone else would start another random thing. And I was like, these are my people.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. It was the best. No one looked physically the same. We were all completely physically different. So different.
Wow. That's great. It's always so much fun. And like, it feels so good when you finally come across those people. That you like, oh, you do that? You do that too? That's awesome. Let's be friends. Okay, cool. We're friends for life now. Ride or die. Let's do this.
Yeah. I'm like, your brain is weird too.
I love it.
Have you ever found that with dating that like you need someone that's also? Or do you like someone that balances you a little bit?
So I've learned that it's better for me to have someone who doesn't have the same condition as me, because I do need some sort of structure in my life. I do need some sort of balance.
Right.
Because life is all about checks and balances, right? And if you don't have anybody to like sort of be like, no, Michelle, you can't just randomly do what you want when you want.
Right.
Think about it first. See if you still want to do it, then you can do it.
Yeah.
Or like it's just you need some structure is huge. Structure is a big thing.
Yeah. Do you find like you're getting better at being able to just give yourself as you're getting older, like with structure?
I do. I found that I've come up with a lot more sort of fail safes or techniques on how to manage myself.
Right.
So, I mean, notes are huge.
Yeah, me
Like
too.
I have pen and paper like everywhere, like
Me too.
and of course I have to like I have it all in one drawer, but
Yeah.
I'll just like keep taking as I'm thinking of something that I need to remember to write down, or like a list of things I need to do that I need to write down, and then I keep forgetting to like put it back in the drawer, like keep everything together so I don't forget where it is. But
Right. Right.
I think I finally managed at this point in my life to like at least do that.
Right.
But yeah, pen and paper. My calendar in my phone is a
Yeah.
huge thing. Like if you're not in the calendar, I'm sorry, it's nothing against you, but I won't remember.
Right.
And I've actually lost friendships over that, where, you know, we've talked and yeah, let's meet up. Okay, this place, this time, let's do it. And then I didn't put it in my calendar, totally forgot. Friend calls me up. Hey, I'm here. Where are you?
No, no.
I forgot, and I made other random spur of the moment plans, and I'm out with these friends doing this crazy thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, let's reschedule.
Right.
Um, and rescheduled and forgot again. And that was the end of that friendship, which is sad because, you know, we did get along really well, you know, good people, but
Yeah.
she couldn't handle, you know, being stood up a couple times. And I totally get that. I felt so bad. Like, honestly, I felt like she didn't have to slap me across the face, but I felt like I was, you know, slapped across the face because
Right. It
I
hurt.
understood.
Yeah, because you're like, this is just the way that I am. Yeah. But I've on the just on the writing in your like booklets at my work that I'm at right now, they're like they have their own little notepads. So like
Oh,
I'm like, oh, so like I just always have one and I filled up like, I filled up tons. And so I'll be like in my little like my where my I guess my drawer or my shelf is. I'm like,
uh-huh.
I'll grab one and I'll like sometimes I'll open it. It's like they're all full. And I'll read it and I'm like, these are psycho notes. Well, the notes are fine, but I'm like, nobody read this. And I'll like throw them in the garbage. Like these are done. These are done. I just needed to get the thoughts out.
What I've determined is, and like even at work, because I was going through so many notepads, it was kind of ridiculous. And it's like stuff that like I only needed to know for that day, but
Yeah.
then like it's done, right? So I was like, okay, I've done everything. Okay, let's waste more paper. So I ended up getting this thing called a boogie board, and it comes in like any size. You can get it from like I was gonna say Future Shop, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Whoa, that's way back, way back.
Right?
Yeah.
Best Buy, that's it. Best Buy. Best Buy
Okay,
has
cool.
them. And basically, you can write things on it.
Yeah.
There's an app that you can take a picture and you can like edit it in a program if you really need to. But
Okay.
then when you're done with it, there's a button that you just press and it like erases it. It's almost like you know, the board that had like the little scribble things and then you could shake it and it would all go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
It's like that, but like for like doing notes and stuff.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Although for some reason there's like maybe this is like an OCD. I'm like, I have to have it on record. But like my notes will say something like, stop telling people everything about you, be mysterious. And then it'll be like, and fuck so and so, some coworker. And I'm like, oh, I was mad at them that day.
Yeah, but that's where you need a diary instead
Right.
of a notepad.
It's not a notepad, it has an open and close to it. But then it'll also be like, but then it'll be something like you need to start a podcast, or it'll be like inspirational ideas, right? So like
Yeah,
that would just be like, oh, get out 50 bad things for one little gem.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I've got both.
Yeah.
And I use my boogie board for like the day.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I need to do in the day. This is
Okay.
what I
Right.
need to accomplish in the day. And then
Right.
once the day's over, press button reset. And that's essentially how I treat every day in life, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just like, no matter what happens on a day, next day's a new day. Next day's reset.
That's good. That's just good. I wanted to ask you also, I don't know if you want to promote your Instagram. Do you want to promote your Instagram page?
Yeah, sure. So on
Quite good. I
Instagram,
like your pictures.
I have a modeling profile. It's under at Cypher901.
Okay, I didn't know that.
SYPHER.
Okay,
And
cool.
yeah, I post all my modeling pictures because I still have a profile in Model Mayhem from ages ago. But this is kind of like where I can keep everything and I can post as many pictures as I want and, keep everything up to date and fresh and, you
Yeah.
know, keep keep with the Instas, keep with the socials, as
Yeah.
the kids say. So
Okay, that's cool. What I'll do is like you send it to me and I'll put it in the video as well.
okay.
That's cool. I had an account on Model Mayhem as well. I was like doing photography.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I have
cool.
fashionmasher.blogspot.com, and I used to like put all my little
Oh,
fashion photo shoots. Okay, that's cool.
that's
Very,
pretty
very
cool.
cool. That's so funny. So many similarities. So many. What artist is inspiring you these days? Is there any artist, photographer, musician, or
So there is a photographer that I have worked with, and I really like his stuff. Like I love his style. I love the colors that he uses. His name is Eric,
okay?
and I do have the photo shoots that I've done with him on my IG profile.
Mhm.
And yeah, we actually went to high school together. So
Okay.
yeah. So we do have a bit of history there, which is like pretty cool and also helps with like, you're comfortable with
Yeah.
that person. So usually when you're comfortable with somebody, you get like better things from, whatever you do together. So yeah, Eric Marcinkowski.
Okay,
Uh,
cool.
yeah. And then in terms of artists, there's so many of them.
It's okay. We're just talking. We just talk about them. Yeah, just share stuff with me. It's
Yeah. I'm like, I know
yeah, check it on your phone.
what it is.
These days, I was thinking like who do I like? What artists do I like? I like mostly rappers now. Like I just love a lot of the rappers, like Tyler the Creator, just because his
Okay.
videos are so cool. They're so forward and progressive.
I like Run the Jewels.
Oh yeah, Run the Jewels is dope. I like that guy in interviews. I just like it when he talks. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he has uh, a thing on Netflix. Oh, what's it called? I forget what it's called, but
Sure.
he's got a show on Netflix and
Right.
he basically like brings up a lot of like social issues and like does these experiments and it's like actually pretty neat to watch. I'm like, dude's got a point.
Yeah.
Like
He's smart.
he's super smart.
Super
Like,
smart.
my goodness.
Yeah. The Tyler the Creator does this one music video called The Boy is a Gun. And in it, he has like a white model, like a tall white model. And he's a black rapper. And he's just rapping to him like they're in a relationship the whole time at a hotel. And it's just great. He's like, why don't I call you a cab if you're going to be like this? You're not coming to brunch anymore. It's just awesome. It's just so awesome. And it's really, really shot really beautifully in some mansion, shot so well. Yeah.
That's so cool.
And so I would watch, like, I find music videos I love. And like when I'm chilling with someone, especially like maybe a date or something, I'll be like, oh my God, you got to see this. And like sometimes they'll be like, what am I watching? And I'm like, it's art. It's art.
It's art. I swear. It's all the art.
Yeah.
Art in your face.
Or like a kind of not really Kanye West these days, but in the past, I used to like some stuff that he did.
Okay.
Kanye West is a billionaire now.
I know.
You don't like him?
Okay. As an artist,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
As a person,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's hurt
He's got some things he needs to work out, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. Everyone knows. Yeah, yeah. I got lots of love for him, but sometimes he says stuff. I'm like, no. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you understand.
Yeah. No, I know. But you know what? I held out to the very end because everyone's like, I don't like what Kanye's doing. And I'm like, whatever, guys. He's like a trendsetter. You can't be for. But then just like the last little while, I'm like, oh man. Okay.
Oh, you're
But
crazy going.
yeah. But anyway, but yeah, he's good. He's good. I'm glad I'm glad he exists. I really like that he exists. Do you like
Yeah, I
Elon
agree.
Musk?
Hmm?
Do you like Elon Musk?
Um, I'm undecided on that point.
You
I
remind
mean,
me of his wife a little bit.
Grimes.
Yeah.
You know what I did? I did grow up listening to Grimes. Like
No.
I do enjoy listening to Grimes, but yeah, Elon Musk is an interesting bird.
Yeah.
We'll put it that
It's cool,
way.
it's cool that he married Grimes though.
Yeah, that's also an interesting union.
Right?
Um, I don't know what to think about it yet, to be honest. I mean, part of me wants to be like, he's an alien, she's an alien.
Yeah.
Now they're aliens together.
Yeah.
So, kind of works on that level. They're both like creatives, in a certain aspects.
Right.
But that's all
Are you a creative?
I am. It's funny because I pride myself in being very logical
Mhm.
and, like my most common thing to say to people after I like throw logic at them is, you cannot deny my logic. And they're like, you're right, I can't. Why you have to be so logical? Stop it.
Right.
But I do have creative outlets. Like I paint, I used to draw a lot,
Me too.
like a lot of sketching,
Me too.
but a lot of unfinished sketches because I'm a perfectionist. And if it's not going the way that I want it to go, I'm like, I'm done. I'm moving on to the next thing.
Right.
So I have like a lot of like half filled or like, kind of filled, but like not completed sketchbook work. So
Cool.
really should go through that.
Yeah. Did you draw
I
when you were younger? Sorry to cut you off, but
yes,
I
yeah.
just being these explosions. I'm like, me too. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
did you do
yeah.
this too?
You
Let's
can just
compare
say
our
let me
lives.
finish my thought. Sorry. Okay, me too. I used to draw the Beatles. I used to listen to the Beatles for hours and draw their faces. I'm like, now I'm drawing Paul. Now I'm drawing John. I'm not drawing Ringo. No,
That makes sense. Obviously not.
I don't have time for that.
No time for Ringo. Who has time for Ringo?
I have to do my homework or Miss Santonon's going to kill me.
She'll dump your desk.
I'm like, whatever, let her.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Although it makes sense because I remember you being a huge like Beatles person.
Yeah.
Like you were obsessed with the Beatles.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that's like all you drew were the Beatles.
Right. Dude, I had this. My dad brought this big record player home one time, and it was my grandma's, and it was one of those old ones that's a table, and it's also a record player in a table, kind of
Okay, yeah.
like underneath. Did you? And I used to run home, and then I'd blast like the Doobie Brothers and the Beatles, and I would
Okay.
lie under the table because the speakers were there, and they would just blow down on me like waves of music. And then
Yeah.
one day I came home and it was gone, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got rid of it." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Did you cry? I would have been so upset.
I think I got angry. I think I was angry. I was like, "You should have talked to me first, consulted with me."
Because it's yours, right?
Right. Well, I feel like I was like, "You don't know what you stole from me. Like you've ruined." Do you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I know that there are some family videos of me dancing to records being played, and
Well,
one of them is the Ghostbusters soundtrack.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
So
great one.
yeah, it's like
It's such a
but
yeah. Sorry.
yeah, it was basically me and like my cousins at the time, and just like us just like dancing to Ghostbusters
It's a
on
great
video.
one.
It was such a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
And like
Wait,
what
now.
else? Yeah. And then Donna Summers.
Oh yeah.
God, for your money.
Oh, it's a killer track.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that, and Cat Stevens, Tea for the Tillerman. That was like my favorite record when I was a kid growing up. Uh, that would be like, Cats in the Cradle.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what else? Michael Jackson,
Jackson was amazing.
Thriller.
Thriller was insane.
Yeah, that was
I had the
insane.
Aerosmith tape. I was really loving that for a while.
Nice.
Sweet Emotion. I was like, oof.
Well, if we want to get into tapes, let's get
Yeah.
into tapes.
Tape cassette.
My first tape that I ever bought
Yeah.
was like Lisa Loeb.
Oh, Lisa Loeb was great.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
And I was just obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And then the second tape, no, sorry, that was my second tape I bought. First tape I ever bought for myself was Janet.
Oh yeah. She was
Like
coming
just
up
Janet.
right?
Yeah, and it's like the one with the picture like with her pants like kind of half undone and like it's like a
Oh, I
sepia
remember
sort of
that.
filter.
Right.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that album, and my favorite song to this day off that album is If.
Okay.
And my mom hated that song because the intro and the outro of it is just like, to her, it's like, it's just noise. It's like, like she's like, turn that off. I'm like, no, I love this song.
Right.
So I just like turn it down until it was over, and then I'd put it back up again.
There was a lot of great music in the 90s as we were growing up. Like really
100%.
good music. Yeah. It was a beautiful time for that. Like a lot of artists.
Yeah. 90s was awesome. Like 90s, you had grunge, you had like Soundgarden, you had Jane's Addiction, you had Zucker Baby and I Mother Earth and so many others.
And countless others.
Nirvana is a huge one.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to love Tears for Fears as well. I kind of liked a lot of that older stuff a little bit.
I still have that tape.
Do you? Yeah, it's a great.
Yeah, I still have Tears for Fears.
They're so good. Which one is it that you have? Is it the one with? It must be like the Shout, the one with Shout and.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a couple ones like I should get that album. I try to find it on YouTube because there's a couple outros they have that are just instrumentals that I was like got addicted to.
Okay.
So cool.
Well, if I ever convert my tape to
You don't have a tape player? Do you have a tape player?
I have one tape player, and it is my Walkman that I got from like my grandmother when I was in grade 3.
You know what's wild is when I remember you, I can remember you having a Walkman, walking around with a Walkman.
Yep, still have it. Yeah. It's the same one. It's like that Sony like sports one that's like yellow and gray.
I remember you like rollerblading with your Walkman.
Oh yeah, 100%. I was a huge rollerblader when I was younger.
Yeah,
which, by the way,
doing your fucking thing. You were just doing your thing.
Just in my own world, doing my own thing.
You were.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? Sorry about your.
So, rollerblading subject.
Yeah.
I actually just started getting back into rollerblading this past summer.
Okay.
A couple years ago, I ended up breaking my ankle.
Okay.
In an unfortunate accident, and this was like one of the ways that I've been trying to strengthen my ankle a bit more. So I can eventually start wearing heels again, so that when the time comes and the pandemic is over, I'll be ready to, walk some catwalks and do some shoots.
They're making a huge mistake because they're like, Michelle's powers are only getting stronger the more we have the.
That's right. Honestly, this pandemic has been so awesome for me. Exactly. It's given me time to like go through everything that I own and like let go of stuff and reorganize things that I've been putting off for years. Just, kind of decluttering and getting my place looking the way that I want it to, and, to not feel so overwhelmed with things like out and about.
As you were talking earlier, my room has been like clean maybe 2 times this year. And it's just like clothes everywhere. And I'm just like, I'm an intuitive spirit, but it's just like, do you know what I mean? Like if someone's coming over, I'm like, okay, here's 3 hours. We have to like put ourselves together to pretend like.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only time that people like us clean is when we know that there's company coming.
Yeah.
Okay, time for a deep clean.
Yeah. And when they're over, I'm like, look, I bought an IKEA rug. I'm like, it's from IKEA, it's a rug. I bought it.
Be proud of me, please.
Yeah. They're like, okay. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, let's talk more about how I purchased this rug.
Look, I can do an adult thing.
Exactly. Before there wasn't a rug here, but I purchased it and now there is. Was there any movies that when you were younger that all of a sudden like had an impact on you as like a kind of if you had ADHD and you were like different in your head a lot? Like movies had like a really cerebral effect on me when I was younger.
Like in terms of anything that I could relate to.
Just what comes in your mind when you think about that?
Okay. So when you say movies as a kid, what stands out for me? That would be Never-Ending Story.
Yes.
Legend.
Yes.
Right? Honestly.
Let's go through these movies.
Okay.
Never-Ending Story. Oh my God. Like that's perfect for us because we like to sit and read.
Never-Ending Story.
That movie like scared me a lot though as well.
Well, The Nothing was pretty frightening.
Yeah.
To be honest, like it was this dark thing that was like destroying their realm and manifest as this like wolf beast thing.
Yeah.
That was pretty freaky. And then the Swamp of Sorrows, like
when he loses his horse, doesn't Atreyu lose his horse in that? It's too much.
Yeah, Artax. That's it. I'm like trying to recall it because I haven't watched it in a while.
Right. Do you remember that one Turtle Rock? It sneezed and he got thrown off the tree.
Yes. Yeah. It was the snail that sneezed.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, there was like the rock eater, and then like that vampire bat dude with the snail who rode the snail.
Okay.
It was like those group, and yeah, that was also another depressing part. Like when they come and the rock fighter is like, these look like strong hands, don't they? Because he couldn't hold on to his friends because the Nothing sucked them away. Like,
dude, I feel like when in the 90s, like a lot of movies were like heavy for kids. Like it dealt with heavy matter. Where like these days, I feel like they don't give that anymore. It's all happy.
Movies and TV shows back in the 90s had like a lot of dark subject matter, a lot of heavy subject matter. But I remember when we were in, I think it was the end of grade school. I think we were still in Pauline Johnson, and they gave us these booklets that we had to, I'm not sure if you remember this, but we had to record what we watched, what was happening in those TV shows, how long we would watch TV for. And our teachers made it clear to us that this had nothing to do with our own schoolwork. Like they still needed us to do it, but like we wouldn't be graded on it. This was just like, a fun project to do at home, but we need you to complete these booklets and then submit them by these dates. What that turned into was actually the government collecting all this information from kids, watching all these different TV shows, which ultimately resulted in those TV warnings that we have now of, the ratings and may contain, violence, blood, sex, magic, whatever. Right?
I'm looking for something with blood, sex, and magic at Jumbo Video.
Please.
This one has blood and sex, but unfortunately no magic. I go,
no magic.
Take it away from me. Okay.
Take it away.
Remember Jumbo Video?
Take it away now.
Take it away now. Do you remember Jumbo Video?
Yes, I remember it because free popcorn, and I love popcorn, so it was the best. And then they had like this separate curtained off room that we were never allowed to go in.
Right.
And then there was the wall with all the Nintendo games that you could like rent. I remember renting Barbie for Nintendo.
That's right.
and that was like my favorite game of all time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the whole premise of the Barbie game is basically like you go through all these different like levels that are like in her dreams to like get different pieces for her prom outfit at the end to go out with Ken on.
Wow.
And so it's like, this level, when you complete it, you get a tiara, and this level you get a dress, and this level you get shoes, and like there's like one level in particular that I like to play because you got to be like a mermaid and swim with like a dolphin. And it's like interesting.
Yeah, that's
It was
dope.
hard to play though.
It's really smart, and it's awesome that even now you can remember so much about that game. Like the who of the creators deserve like a pat on the back.
I played a lot of games when I
Me
was a kid
too.
because
I did
I
too.
hated being
Uh,
outside with people. My mom had to be like, all right, we're shutting this off. Go outside. I don't want to. Go outside.
yeah,
Enough Tetris. Go outside.
right, right. Um, I wanted to go back to Legend because it's so good. Who is in that again? That wasn't Tom Cruise. That was
Yeah, it was Tom Cruise.
Tom
Tom
Cruise.
Cruise, Mia Sarah, and Tim Curry as the demon, the big demon dude. That's Tim
That was
Curry.
intense. That's insane. I mean, if a movie's ever captured what Satan would look like, that was it.
Well, it's funny because there's an ad out now for Match, and the demon that they use in it, it's the Tim Curry legend demon, essentially. That's what he looks like. I'm like,
Yeah.
rip off.
I think
Get your
someone
own demon.
I think someone literally did see Lucifer and was like, guys, I got the picture right here.
Yeah.
This is what Lucifer. There was also that one kid, remember in the movie that was like half his legs? Was he half? What was Tom Cruise's name in that? Oh no, maybe I'm mixing up Legend. Was
So
it
Tom Cruise was like the hero in the story. Also, that was before he got his teeth fixed and the unibrow thing eventually left. So that's like,
I just watched The Color of Money yesterday, a scene, and it's also before he got that all done.
yeah. I'm like, that's pretty cool to like see how, an actor sort of transitions into their final form.
Okay, just wait. We'll talk about that in a second. What about his name was Jack, wasn't it, in that movie?
Yes, Jack.
Yeah.
His name was Jack.
One of the people that was with him had a bow and arrow, and he'd be like, "Hold on, Jack." For some reason, they gave him a British accent, which I was so impressed. I loved.
Okay, so there was also like he had a group, like he had like dwarfs with them and like a fairy who was kind of like ambiguous
One was
in
a
terms of,
centaur, or was it a fairy? I thought it was like a centaur. He had like goat legs, and he had a bow and arrow. Or was he a fairy? Maybe he was a fairy.
I think you're thinking of one of the bad guys because there was like a goblin and like this other like kind of pig
I
man
remember
dude
those.
with
They were
like
creepy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole premise was like for them to get that unicorn horn, right?
Right.
Or, you know,
We got to watch that whenever I'm back.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
But I'm going to tell you my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the movie is when like Tim Curry as a demon is like trying to seduce Mia Sarah into like joining him in hell and like is lavishing all these gifts on her. And then there's like one gift in particular, and it's this dress, but like it kind of like comes to her like as this like sort of blacked out figure, and like she dances with this dress. And then when she like decides to kind of like accept it, that's when like the dress kind of like goes over her, and then when they open up again, she's in the dress.
Oh,
And it's like got this really high collar and like all this like metal jewelry just like draping over, and it's so cool. I'm like, if I could ever do that costume,
yeah.
100% will.
The aesthetic of that movie was on point.
It was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was so
It was perfect. It really was. I think that's why I was so drawn to it as well, because I was like, we had like an eye for art or fashion. So
yeah.
like, something about this is so right.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
visually appealing. And the same thing with Neverending Story too.
Yeah.
Like the costuming in it was so gorgeous, like so amazing.
Yeah.
And then the visual aesthetics of the different scenes that they have. Like, for example, like the giant sphinxes, that
Yeah.
they had to pass through
The laser.
without getting lasered to death like everyone else that's come before them.
Yeah.
And that was another intense scene
Yeah.
in Neverending
In
Story.
my mind, I was like, this is a place that exists.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just like
Right.
100%. Yeah, I could totally go through a book and end up there. Like it
Yeah.
makes sense to me. One time, one day you're running through the alleyway to get away from some bullies, and the next thing you know, you're like freaking on a dragon, on a luck dragon.
Well,
Falcor.
there possibly is other realms, and we at a younger age could have just been remembering other realms that we had been in before coming to Earth. I mean, that's super woo-woo spiritual, but
Could be.
just thought experiment. Let's just have a thought experiment. You know why you would resonate with that? Because you're like, and how would that author even think of those things? Right? There's like this.
It's funny you should bring that up because Disney Plus has released a movie called Soul.
Yeah.
And
No.
have you seen it?
I saw the trailer. I was like, this is real.
Dude, it is so well done. Like you don't have to be like religious or spiritual or anything like that to watch it. I found it hilarious. Like it was so well done. But like the concept of it and like the artwork for it was just like, wow, like this could be a possibility. Like,
Right.
All your souls just kind of like hang out here and, you learn different things and that's how you become you. And, just it, I'm not going to say any more without giving anything away.
Sure.
But 10 out of 10, do recommend that you watch it.
Okay. Disney Plus will cancel my channel. They're like, what the hell? No. Let me ask you a question. So of all the things that have happened in your life, like let's say all the good things that have come into your life, do you think that was luck? Or do you think it was by your hard work and your, I don't know, networking? Or you just being intelligent? Or do you think it was a combination of both?
Definitely a combination of both.
Yeah.
Like being in the right place at the right time, coupled with the smarts, like the intellect that I have and the willingness to, do whatever it needs, like whatever it takes to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
So I have a mantra and it's basically fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I know I can do this. So I'm just going to do it. And they don't have to know that I've never had previous experience with it.
Right.
But, I'll learn, I'll research. And that's one of the things that I'm thankful that my mom did for me and my sisters was if you don't know, look it up, research it, go to the library. Because back then we didn't have internet. So, I would spend a lot of time in the library just reading up on things. Terry Berry Library, 100%. I lived there like my entire childhood years. Like,
all summer,
would never leave. Yeah. Best place on earth is Terry Berry Library.
I remembered your mom was a very tall and strong woman, just strong in her demeanor.
Well, she had to be. She was a single mother raising 3 girls on her own. So yeah, she's a very strong, independent woman. And I'm very grateful to have her in my life and to have had her as a role model for myself, my sisters, and teaching us that, yes, we can do whatever we want on our own.
Right.
If you need to fix something in your place, if you don't know how to do it, look it up. Get the tools that you need and just do it. Like you don't need to have somebody else do it for you. Like don't become reliant on other people because then you'll never become reliant on yourself.
Yeah, but and when I say strong, I mean like she was nice, but like I just sensed that, right? You could sense that, right? In which adults were a little off. But I remember teachers or whatever. Okay, so what do you consider success? in
I
life?
think success would be just being happy with where you're at in life at the moment.
Right.
Like all I feel like is we strive to have happiness in our lives, like to be happy with who we are, where we're at, with what we're doing, being able to do things that, you enjoy doing. And if you're not happy, then change something, do something about it,
Right.
so you do get to that point again where you are happy in your life. So,
Yeah.
let's say, if you're in a relationship and it's a really good relationship and you're happy with it, that's awesome. Like, do you really need to change anything about it? No. But if it's not going well, then you need to do something to change it. Same with job, same with, friends, family. Like, if it's not making you happy, then you're not really living, the best life that you could have right now.
Right. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Um, yeah. I don't know what else I wanted to go on that right now. Do you have any, it's 2021. Do you have any future goals?
Uh, Not particularly, simply because everything is unknown variables at this point.
Right, right, right,
So, like, sure, I can make plans, but it's different in the time of a pandemic.
right.
And I mean, historically, humankind has gone through pandemics before.
Sure.
It's nothing new to us. Sure, it's a new form of pandemic, but we've been through pandemics before. Historically, they're going to always happen throughout human history. It's just a matter of like how we choose to deal with it, and you know, staying safe, following rules, and eventually, we'll get through it. Eventually, like it's as per history before, so comes history after.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll be fine. We'll get through this. It sucks right now, but eventually the pandemic will be like, okay, we went through this. Now we've made it through. Now we can continue on with our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. No, I just know that you mentioned the rollerblading. So I know you're working on things. I know
I
you
am working on
plan.
things. I am working on things. So, like, with that said, with all the variables in
Yeah,
play, uh, I do want to, get back into doing fashion shows when that opens up again. I want to get back into doing more photo shoots when it's safe to do so. I want to travel. Like,
yeah, that was
first
my
place
next
off,
question. Like, where do you want to travel to?
Japan. Japan
Yeah.
is like number one
Okay.
on my list.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love Japan. I
Yeah,
just started learning Japanese, like really focusing on it a couple of days ago.
nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll have to teach me some key things before I
Yeah.
head over.
I'll teach you something really cool right now, okay?
Okay, okay.
So when you like I did street fashion in Japan. So I'd go up to people that were and I would say, Anata wa totemo kakui desu. So like anata wa is you are. It's so easy.
Anata wa
Yes, you are. And totemo is like very.
totemo. Oh, kind of like totally.
Yeah,
Totemo.
totemo. Anata wa totemo. And then cool style is kakoi desu.
Kakoi desu.
Kakoi desu. And actually what the word means is like you give me a good feeling.
Oh,
Isn't that
that's
cool?
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like you're stylish is a good feeling. Isn't that cool?
I love that.
Me
And
too.
I love the fact that like you just go up to people and say that to them.
Yeah.
Like, because who does that these days?
No, I know. Well, this is what I'm taught. This is why it's like with like some things that people look as at us for weaknesses, maybe they'd be like, oh, they act so weird. It's actually strengths, right? Because I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to this person because I want to talk to them. Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't work well in a corporation, and corporations are like, stop it. But
Be a number. Do what you're told.
I'm like, I got another big idea. Like,
I'm sorry, but you're not ahead of anything. So why do we care?
yeah, they're like, write it down in your book. We read through it at night. We laugh. They just looked at my book, they're like, oh God, call the police.
Actually, that's funny because the last corporate job that I had, they had this program that they called Kaizen.
Oh, I hate
And
Kaizen.
yeah, Kaizen is,
Never ending improvement.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So basically, that's how they would get, their ideas from the staff without ever having to, kind of compensate them for it. Just like,
Right.
oh, free ideas. Yes, give, give, give. It's ours now. We own it. So, I mean, as much as I like the idea of Kaizen,
Yeah.
part of me is like, but you're stealing all of our ideas and like
Right.
not compensating the employees for it
Yeah.
properly.
Well, it can also be like Kaizen just on an individual level that you're always trying to improve all the time, right? There's always,
Oh, 100%.
but yeah, I've had bosses definitely like a week later be like, everyone, I have a big idea. I'm like,
That was my idea.
but I'll be like, okie dokie, we're gonna go along with this. Where do you want to go in Japan? Do you want to go to Tokyo? What do you want to do in Japan?
Okay, so first on my list, if it even exists at that point,
Yeah.
is doing that Mario Kart thing.
I did not
Where,
expect that.
yeah, that's the number one on my list to do
It's gonna
is
be like
Mario
getting
Kart.
a drink and get sushi and go to a cool place. You're like, have you heard of the Mario Kart cars?
Yeah, that's me.
Right.
I want to dress up in costume
Yeah.
and take a ride around the city in little go-karts. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
That's the
Awesome.
first
That would
order
be
of business.
great for my YouTube channel. So let's definitely coordinate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second thing on my list of things to do is go through the experience of dressing up like a geisha.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
That's like I've wanted to do that since I was like a little girl. I've always been fascinated with the culture. I've always been fascinated with Asian culture in general.
Yeah.
And I think it stems from like my cousins are half Chinese.
Oh, cool.
So I kind of grew up with a lot of Asian culture, with, different events and, foods. Like comfort food for me is basically like rice with lapchang, which is like a Chinese sausage. And it's like my favorite because it has like a nice like sweetness to it. It's like super fatty, but super delicious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like the flavor, it's just like a flavor bomb in your mouth. It's like the
Nice.
best. But yeah, and like, during Christmas or whatever, you get like the little red envelopes of money or,
Yeah. They do that
any
here as well. Yeah.
yeah. So I kind of grew up sort of one foot in that culture already. So I've always been attracted to it. Like a lot of my decor is, Asian inspired.
Used. Yeah. That's cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that you wanted to go there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about either going there next year or staying here. But yeah, Japan's also like tough country. Like it's really expensive. The taxes are really high because it's so awesome.
You know what? The most awesome places are the most expensive.
Right. They know it. Yeah, they know it.
Yeah.
They're like,
We know we're hot stuff.
We got Mario Kart the stuff there. Yeah, we're doing okay. Dude, there's this one area, I think it was in Shibuya, one of the cool like fashion areas in Tokyo. So I went, and when I was walking around, I saw Jeremy Scott.
Oh.
And yeah, and I went up to him and I was like, "Can I take a picture with you?" And he was like, he was with the coolest crew I've ever seen in my life. He's with his boyfriend, and like the two of the coolest Japanese people, like just a super, like that movie, what's that movie with Ben Stiller, the fashion movie, Zoolander?
Zoolander, yeah.
Do you remember Hansel? Hansel with his crew all the time. He always had a super cool crew.
He's so hot right now.
Yeah.
Hans.
He's like, so sorry you didn't get the whatever campaign. And he's like, I don't even know what that is. I've been chilling on the coast with my friends, tripping on acid. It was like that kind of crew. Like they're all fashionable. And I was like,
oh my
God. Picture? And he went, okay. And my girlfriend at the time took a picture. She's like, why are you doing this? I took a picture with him. The picture's on my website, on my fashion blogger. Anyway, I'll send it to you because it's really funny.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like Japan would be a good place for you.
Did you guys try to do like a walk off?
um, no, but it's really funny the way I'm posing in the picture because his boyfriend was there. I didn't want to like go too close to him. I'm kind of leaning at him like this, and we're both kind of like leaning like this. Like it's just later when I looked at it, I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
Oh, always go for what you want.
I know, I know. Um, yeah. Also, you mentioned the Barbie. I remember when I was younger, I guess there was like girls. I used to like I loved hanging out with girls more than guys. For like, especially in those younger years, just because they wanted to talk and I wanted to draw and listen to music. And my dad got me. I guess the girls were playing with Barbies and I didn't have a Barbie, so I remember he brought me to the mall and let me buy a Barbie.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Your dad's so progressive
I know, and he was
for
really.
that time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking the other day. He was really blue collar too. Like he worked at the Fasco. He's just a
Yeah.
big guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really surprised he did that.
You know what? I think there are just some parents that like are meant to be parents and they'll support their children no matter what, they'll whatever makes your kid happy,
Yeah,
that's what you're going to try and do for them and not try to like instill any sort of stereotypes.
right.
Like I remember when I was a kid, like for Christmas, really young, my mom would get me like Tonka trucks and like cranes and Lego blocks. And, she never like stuck with like a particular like female oriented toy for me. It was just like, if it was cool stuff, that's what I would get. And it'd be like, that's the coolest thing ever. What, a science kit where I could like grow crystals? Cool.
That's
What,
awesome.
magic kits? I love magic. Like, this is super cool.
Right.
So,
90s was a good time, man. We're so lucky. I'll round this up in a couple minutes.
okay.
You're the first girl on the podcast. You're the first one.
Fireworks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome that you're the first one. That's so cool.
You gotta like insert Mario music, like when he jumps the pole, the flagpole at the end.
Way too much editing. Yeah, that was the best. Did you play that Super Mario World? I played it so much.
I played Super Mario World on occasion,
Okay.
but mine was Super Mario Brothers, the first one.
Oh,
And
retro.
basically, my older sister was the one who brought the first gaming console into our household.
Yeah.
And it was basically one of those sort of package sort of things where it was like, okay, it's the game console, plus you got the gun, plus the one game cartridge that had Super Mario Brothers on it and Duck Hunt.
Oh,
So
yeah.
So that's what I grew up playing initially was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And side story.
Please.
So me and some friends were arguing over the title of the first Mario game, whether or not it was like fully written out as Brothers or if it was Bros, like BROS and then a period. And I'm like, it's Bros.
BRO.
And my friend's like, no, it's Brothers. And I'm like, no, it's Super Mario Bros. But everyone says Super Mario Brothers, but it's Bros on the console. Trust me on this. And then he's like, okay, you want to make a bet? I'm like, bring it. What's the bet? What is it? So the bet was basically like whoever lost had to like dress up in like butler gear and like cook like a 4-course meal for all of our friends. Guess who won?
You won.
I won. And like he even like created like a fancy menu, like everyone dressed up. And yeah, he was like, he did everything, cooking, butlering. Like it was great. I'm like, so what's the next bet? He's like, no.
Yeah, he's just turning into a little personal slave.
Exactly. I love it.
And that's smart. And that's why you're an intelligent person. I really want to go for places I want to travel to. I really wanted to go to Italy, like Milan or Florence.
Me too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Although, like, if I go, I want to plan it ahead so that, like, I've got tickets to Fashion Week.
Oh,
and,
right. Yeah.
like really experience that,
Super cool.
firsthand. Go to the countryside, eat a lot of good food,
Yeah.
meet people, uh, basically eat meat and cheese the entire time I'm there. Like,
I
that's what I want.
want to get in a relationship with an older woman and like smoke and drink and get in arguments in the street. Ah, goodbye, goodbye. That's
I
what,
mean, live the dream, dude. Go for it.
yeah, goodbye. And then later I go, I love you. Then we go up and down every day. It's a real
Like
Italian love affair.
that love-hate relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
Let's
always
eat
loved
some
that.
cheese.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, it's destructive. I'm like, yeah. Um, I was in Spain now
Oh,
for like 3 weeks. I went to
okay.
Spain. Yeah. And I was just like working a lot. I was just super burnt out. And so I just decided I'd go because I always wanted to go to Europe. And I went by myself. I did meet a friend for like a week, but I spent a lot of time alone there.
Uh-huh.
But there's this one day, this you'll like this. This woman came up to me, and this is kind of like you saying, like, as far as like you maybe feeling like out of place when you were younger, but then realizing like you actually had tons of gifts that maybe you're different. People are just hitting on it. But I always felt like I was super different, but I thought maybe in Europe, I'll make sense. I don't make sense in North America, right? But when I go to Europe, I'm going to make sense there. And one of my friends was playing in a band. They were playing a show. And so I was outside the venue. And this woman came up to me and she was speaking Spanish. She was with someone and she said, "Oh, Milan, blah, 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 Spanish." And I was like, "What is she saying?" They're like, "She thinks you're from Milan." She's asking you from Milan. I had like a big beard then and I was dressed like I was wearing all my best stuff. And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "She thinks I'm from Milan." She's like, "No, no." But like I couldn't speak Spanish. So I was so happy. So the next day, like I'm walking down the street, like
Like, yeah, I'm hot stuff.
a month of I'm like smoking a cigarette, having a cappuccino, and I can see this guy like really far away, but he like turns and he's walking, and you can just tell like he's wearing like a suit, like he's American. He's tall guy, and he comes right up to me. He comes right up to me, but I was like, oh, he's looking at me. Comes right up to me. He's like, "Hey, excuse me, do you know where the train is?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's over that way." I'm like, "Why did you come? Like, why'd you go to me?" He's like, "Oh, I could tell you're North American." I'm like, "No."
It's like from the highest compliment to like the compliment you never want to hear while you're like traveling abroad.
I love Americans, but this illusion was broken at that moment. And I was like, no.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I have a travel story to tell
Yeah,
you.
please. Yeah.
So I went to Hong Kong for a couple weeks.
So sick.
Yeah, it was basically Hong Kong for a week, Malaysia for a weekend, and then Hong Kong for the rest of my,
Was
vacation.
it for modeling or was it just vacation?
It was just vacation. And I ended up going out to Nan Lian Gardens, which was like absolutely gorgeous. Like I did so much exploring in and around Hong Kong. Like I stayed in Happy Valley and then just like transited around from there. And so while I was at Nan Lian Gardens, there was this monk who was like wearing this blue robe, and like his handler lady person who like had an iPad and was like, taking pictures of him and like, discussing things with him. And I was just like minding my own business, looking at all the pretty things. And then she comes over and can't speak any English, but basically like motions to the iPad, picture with, so basically asking me, "Hey, can we take a picture with you? Can this, gentleman take a picture with you?" So I was like, "Sure, why not?" So there's a picture out there somewhere of me with this monk in Nan Lian Gardens. And I wish I had gotten like their contact or something so I
Yeah.
could have that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. I'm like, it's so random.
Yeah. I thought the
And
monk was going to tell you you're like the chosen one. I'm like, and what did they say?
oh, dude, like if only that would be like amazing. I would never have left. Like, what? Me? I'm the chosen one? Like,
You
this is
had the same birthmark on his wrist that I had. I'm just like, what?
mind blown.
I'm like, stop it. Yeah, yeah. That's still fucking really cool that they chose you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was so
Yeah.
cool. And like part of me is like, is it because I'm like really tall? Because like I've gotten that before where like if I've been out like at a fairground in Hamilton, for the Festival of Friends, and I'm like in my full gear, complete with platform boots, which like brings me up to like 6'4", 6'5", and people just randomly come up to me and be like, "Can we take our picture with you?" I was like, "Okay, I'm not a freak of nature, but kind of am, so sure, why not?"
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it's just really cool that like a monk of all people would be like, "Yeah, I want my picture with you," like
Yeah.
specifically you. I was like, "Okay, I'm down with that. That's cool. Like, you seem like a cool person because you want a picture with me, and I think
Yeah.
I'm cool."
You're very, very, very cool. Um, I'm thinking of like what like the part that I like to cut and then use for my Instagram story, right? And then like it's obviously going to be when we're talking about Never Ending Story.
Oh, 100%. Like, Never Ending Story is like the bomb. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
hello, you've got like a kid who freaking goes into a book to
yeah,
save the child,
yeah,
and like the princess is like freaking pretty,
yeah.
and like he gets to ride freaking Luck Dragon, who's like hilarious, and oh, Billy Crystal's in it.
He's-
Remember, he's like one of the old people.
That's a
It's like,
different movie, isn't it?
no, that's all Never Ending Story.
Because
Because
Billy Crystal's an old guy in that movie with the Peter Pan
yeah,
movie. Then,
Billy Crystal was in like everything in the 90s.
oh yeah,
But he was in Never Ending Story because he was like doing a lot of wisecracking as that old man. It was like that old couple just before they went to go to the Sphinxes, right? So their Falcor got injured.
yeah.
So they were like mixing up something, and like I think Atreyu was not feeling good, so they were like mixing up like all this nasty stuff and made him drink it. It was like this black grody. Ugh.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I think the one who played the old woman was the same one who played the old woman in Addams Family.
But what about that movie, the princess, the Baby Bim Princess? And it was a really funny movie. And he was like,
Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride. Billy
That's
Crystal's
another one of my
that one
favorite.
too. Me too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
like yeah.
Whoa. We're geniuses. Are we super? Do we must both have a combined IQ of 700?
Try like 7 million. Hello.
We should build a spaceship or something together.
Yes, let's do it. Like, I'll take care of the scientific combustible part,
Yeah,
and you like come up with the construction of it. I'll probably like, get my hand in the construction part anyway because that's
sure,
how I am.
sure.
Yeah. Be like,
Yeah,
no, we should have like, I don't know, a pool room in the shuttle, shoot some
yeah,
pool while we're
yeah,
bored in space. Balls flying all over the place.
yeah.
How do we keep the balls on the table?
You know what I was thinking the other day? I was like, I have this genius idea. I was like, okay, I'll learn Japanese, and then when I go there, I'm like, I'll help them sell their robots to different countries. I was like, you know what, Sean? That might be a real niche. Like, I'll go to England, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many purveyors of robots do you know of?
I'm like, I'll have to do a lot of research, but it's not like I haven't done that before, right? Like,
It's possible. Anything is possible.
I'm gonna go to England. I'm gonna show up to the meeting in a little Mario Kart. Hello, a little thing like this. Just right
Don't
in.
forget your little toadstool costume.
I'm like, sure, you could buy robots from America or China.
Or,
Yeah.
or.
Or everyone gets a free car with your first 100 robots you buy. Yay.
Look under your seat, it's a robot.
Made another sale. Yeah, I just called them. I'm like, made another sale. Okay.
Oh my goodness. Another movie that I really like was Cass Hearn. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's robot army in there as well. And I'm like, that's the kind of robot army that I would want to take over the world if I ever wanted to do that.
What's it called? Castern?
Cass Hearn, Casshern. It's a foreign film.
German?
No, it's uh It's Asian. It's an Asian film. I haven't watched it in a while. I don't know if is it Korean or Japanese.
How dare you? What
I know.
about
I know, I'm a
like
horrible person.
no, 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 no. Oh shit, we were just talking about movies. I wanted to throw another night. Oh, you know Mila Jovovich? She did a bunch of CG movies that were really cool.
Resident Evil.
Resident, not that one was scary, but she did some other. That was a little too
Sorry,
scary.
I'm a huge zombie person. I love zombies.
I like zombies
Oh
too.
yeah,
I like Shaun of the Dead. I like,
funny zombie movies.
yeah.
Okay, I understand.
What about,
But
did you like World War Z or too commercial?
Um, World War Z, I wasn't a huge fan of because I did actually read the book beforehand.
I heard that was so good.
And
The book was great.
yeah, because the book is more like individual accounts of like different, experiences from different people and what happened through that. World War Z was more of like a singular, cohesive story following one person and, the whole like, let's get to the bottom of this kind of a thing. So I felt like giving it the name World War Z was kind of like not the best because it wasn't the best representation of the novel. But c'est la vie. I like cheesy zombie films and
Yeah.
TV shows too, like um, Z Nation. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's cheesy as hell. Like you would love it. It's great. Yeah,
What
yeah. Like
about, go on, sorry.
there's like this guy named Murphy in it, and he's like originally like a con artist and like just an overall not great person, but he ends up like getting infected in this experiment that they were doing on him while he was in jail. And so now like it's just following him and like these people that are trying to like turn him into like get him to where he needs to be so that they can try to resolve the whole zombie issue. And yeah, I can't say anything more than that, but it's enjoyable, it's kitschy, it's fun. There's some like, scare like jump moments, but like overall, like it's more of a comedy than anything else. So you won't have to worry about like being scared to death, like, if you watch Black Summer or, something more intense.
Do you want to hear a ghost story?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when I was in, so I was getting tired of Korea. So me and my buddy decided to move to Taiwan, which is like an island off the coast of China. Anyway, so when we got there, we couldn't find an apartment. It was really hard. And so finally we found one. And it was the top floor with like a nice window. We're like, oh my God, we're crushing it. And like the second night, the apartment was really cool. The doors were like sliding walls for the rooms.
Okay.
So bear with me. So I said to go out to the bathroom. When I was opening the door and leaving, I saw walking through the living room, like passing my vision. It was a pair of legs, like no torso, walking, like strutting in front of me with like glowing, shiny, and like it was also like there was dust in it as well, walking past me right now. So I just went like this. I went, and then I didn't make a sound. So I was like, so that's what happens when I see a ghost. Went into my room, closed the door, and I was like, how am I going to handle this? Because my roommate was like from California, very chill guy, very chill.
Right.
So I was like, how am I going to tell him? So I heard the doors like slamming and stuff. So I was like, okay, he's awake, good. So when he came to my room, and he's like, bro, he's like, are you slamming doors? Because there was doors slamming as well, opening and closing. And I was like, no. I was like, I just saw a ghost. I was like, there's a ghost. Like, we gotta leave. He's like, we just put down a deposit. We're not going anywhere. Right? Calm down. There's no ghost. But I always like felt something in the room when I went to sleep at night. And so I kept telling him, like, dude, I can't sleep here. So I was sleeping at friends' houses all the time. And then he was like, ghost, if you're here, don't bother Sean, bother me. And then I didn't feel it in my room anymore. And
Okay.
he started to hear voices sometimes. He thought I was home and there was no one there. So then we both were like, we got to get out. We couldn't sleep. So we call the real estate agent and tell them like, yeah, we'll take the hit. We're going to leave. But he's like, I want to talk to Sean. He's like, I want to talk to Sean right tomorrow. So I go and meet him when I was tired the next day because I didn't sleep very well. And he's like, why are you leaving? And I was like, oh, we want to live closer to the city. And he was like, okay. He goes, is it because there's a ghost in the apartment? And I was like, still, because it's like my American way of thinking. Like I'm crazy if I say that. And I'm like, no, why would you say that? He's like, you need to tell me, Sean, if there's a ghost there. And I was like, there's a ghost. I saw it. And he's like, yeah. He's like, there's a couple ghosts in this building. He's like, but with the government, if someone comes in and says that there's like a spiritualist comes in and says there's in fact a ghost there. And I apologize if you're in Taiwan and I'm saying the wrong things for who comes in, like, forgive me. But someone comes in and declares it. And if it is, then you only pay half rent. But I was like, that's okay. We don't want to live with a ghost.
Okay. All right.
Is that insane?
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Although like was it like a malevolent ghost or just kicking it? Literally, because it's just legs.
Well, I think I don't want to get too heavy on that area and the history there as well, but there was like they were occupied by a lot of different forces and stuff there. So I don't know, maybe if it was like someone that was like tortured or got cut in half. It's a little heavy, right?
Well, as long as it's not like the top half and there's like entrails like kind of hanging down, because from what my research has been, those are the worst kinds. They're like almost like the vampires of ghosts.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Oh man, it was spooky. It was so spooky.
Well, next time you got to get like a smudging stick. Get like a smudging stick, light that up, and it helps to like clear energies out of your place.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's really crazy because I met with like a bunch of people and some people were telling me like, oh, they had like some bad feelings after they met me. Like they're just like, something's wrong with your energy. So I started going to Buddhist temples and just like praying there and stuff and that, because I just thought maybe I need to do like the cultural thing here. But they would tell me to go to a temple and I moved out. So I think that was better.
Yeah. Well, also like, I don't know, I'm kind of a believer in, energy sticking around. Because if you think about it from a scientific perspective, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? So what happens when a person passes away? Where does that energy go?
Right.
And, it either, I think, returns to, the earth so that it becomes the energy of something else, or there's like residual energy that kind of like gets left behind. And that's where you get ghosts or like visions, like sightings. It's kind of like a digital imprint of their energy. And yeah, it's very interesting concept, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on the same page. I felt like it was he just wanted to let me know like this was his place. Like he wanted to make ownership, like it was a male, like strutting to show me like, but then when we were about to leave, I felt like it was upset that we were leaving.
Oh, well, maybe like it's like this is my place, but I'm allowing you to be here.
Yeah.
And sort of like I think some like not all spirits are malevolent. So like if you have like if you pay your respects and like you respect the other entity that's in there, you guys will get along just fine.
I do things like knock on the door before I'd come into the house and stuff, before I'd open the door, stuff like that, right? But but then like I'm just too much of like a sensitive person that I just couldn't. Do you know what I mean?
No, that makes sense because if you are a sensitive person, like you've got enough on your plate dealing with your own life,
right?
But having like a deceased person's life on top of that, well, things can get a little bit sticky. So like, sorry, I can't deal with your ghost lover problems right now. I've got my own stuff to deal with.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, Stacy, and there's a ghost in the house. So no, we're not going to have this conversation. Yeah. What about with, did you ever, when you were younger, did you ever sense like stuff like that?
Okay. So when I was younger,
okay.
So when I was young,
we don't have to. I'm just because we have so many similarities. I'm like, are there other?
No, I want to talk about this. And my mom actually kept journals, which I found out like a couple years ago when I was helping her go through all of her paperwork that she's kept since like before I was born.
Lady journals. I like her style.
Right? Yeah. So basically she would record whatever I saw. Right. And basically I call them pictures.
Yeah.
So, and it typically happened like in the evening, at night. And me and my younger sister, we shared a room together. We had bunk beds. She had the top bunk, I had the bottom bunk, and we had, our closet. And most of the time we had the light on in the closet, and then the door kind of like shut to a crack. So at least there was like some sort of light, because pure darkness was just like bad news bears for
Me
me.
too. Me too.
So the darkness basically brought pictures. So I would actually visualize, like I would visually see these images kind of like materializing out of nowhere. And like one of them was like a carousel with like a little girl on it. Another time it was like this dark mass that I equated to being like a monster, like coming out of the closet and just like looking around and then going back in the closet. And um just different things. Like if I want to see, like if I was open and wanting to see something, like something would kind of like be there. And my mom always felt like I was a very sensitive person. Like she did her research and felt like I was something called an indigo child,
Right.
who was like very in tune with like their surroundings and able to tap into like certain, things. But yeah, when I just thought it was a normal thing. Like, yeah, I see pictures. And, people think that you're crazy. So then they put you on medication, and then you stop seeing it anymore. And then you kind of miss it a little bit. But fast forward to when I became a teenager, and going to this non-denominational church, and there were like a couple of mediums that would go to this church. And one time I told one of them about like what I used to see. And he was like, oh, so that visual representation of the carousel is actually from a sister that you never had. And I was like, what are you talking about, a sister that I never had? And he's like, well, it could have been like, did you have any of your siblings pass away? And I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, maybe ask your mom. I'm like, okay. So I asked my mom, and basically what had happened was between me and my younger sister, my mom actually had a miscarriage.
Right.
So that was like when I first like realized that maybe there was something more to these pictures than me just like, having an overactive imagination and hallucinating things, or like materializing something, nothing into something. So yeah, like I'm not religious, but I would say that I'm kind of spiritual, and I believe that there is something there.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's interesting to me to, find out something like that too. And
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's cool. I was very similar too. I couldn't have the lights off, and if I did, I'd see things nonstop or sense, and I hated
yeah,
it. Couldn't handle it. It's too much. And
yeah,
it could just be like a kid with a deep, deep imagination, right? But it could also, yeah, there's definitely in Taiwan where I was, they had the belief that if you were born like a weak child, if you weren't born healthy, that you had more of a connection to the spirit world because you
that makes sense.
may not have made it, so that maybe you saw more spirits or could, and then that's the rest of your life. You're not completely grounded on the earth.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
I remember when I was like still very young, like maybe toddler age, I got a really bad ear infection to the point where I ended up in the hospital, and like it got pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I managed to get through that. Uh, Side story: my older sister was with my mom in the hospital with me at the time. Just because my mom had to bring her with her
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
she was young. And that same day, my mom was going to be in the newspaper for something. So she asked my sister to go grab a copy of the newspaper for that day while she stayed with me in my hospital room. So she went off to grab newspaper, and she wasn't paying attention. and she ended up whacking her head off of the corner of one of those metal carts, and split her head open.
No way.
She was like taken in to get stitches. So my mom is like running back and forth between my room and over to her with, having to get her cleaned up and stitched up and everything. And so she's like, so I had two girls in the hospital at the same time. It was pretty crazy.
That is really, I did not expect that. So last thing on aliens. So also,
Okay. I'm not saying it's aliens,
no,
but what if?
aliens. No, let's just go for it. I feel like this, I was like, we could go into a really deep end. I'm like, no, let's just take it easy. But this is just, let's go for it. But
let's talk about all the things. We'll give you so much. We'll give you so much content. Like you could do a part 1 and a part 2. Like,
we're gonna do a podcast again together. Don't worry about that. Yeah. So my mom actually told me, she's like, when you were really young, she's like I can't remember it. She's like, you told me one time that you saw a man in your window. There's a man in the window. And she said, oh, really? She said, well, draw a picture of what the man looks like. And she said, then I was drawing, when I gave it to her, she said it was the alien head. It was like a big thing with a small thing and these big eyes. And my mom just said, okay. She just like folded it. And she's like, I guess my mom was bringing me to church at that time. And I guess like the church, like I went to like a very Pentecostal church. You don't talk about that stuff. So she was like, we're just going to put that over there and not talk about that ever again.
sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about aliens? That's a weird question to ask. Let me rephrase that question in a different way. A lot of people say that they think that we'll make contact in the next year or two, or there's some things are going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
What is your sense on that? Is that just are they just trying to get us thinking about something else, or do you think there's actually something to that?
See, I have always found that a very interesting question because, I mean, it's a really big universe, multiverse, all the verses, out there. So to say that nothing else exists kind of like logically, scientifically doesn't make any sense. Like, how are we the only living organisms, able to think and act and do the things that we do without nothing else being out there?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But like in terms of aliens as we know them as little green men, I'm not sure if that's the case. Or, I don't know because anything's possible. Like anything is scientifically possible at this point. Or it could be as made up as like anything else that, humankind has made up throughout the years to try to explain something that was unexplainable.
Some people believe that those little green things are actually biological robots, that aliens wouldn't come here themselves. They send them as like little, almost like drones to investigate.
That makes sense because that's the safest option, especially for us heathen human animals that we are. Like, I wouldn't want to risk my life going to a human planet.
Do you know there's one rapper named Little Dicky? Do you know him? He's really creative, imaginative. I'll send you some of his YouTube videos. But he's got one where he's like, he's rapping, but he's like, yo, do you think that if aliens came here, like, would they just defeat us? Or would they be like, oh my God, humans go hard. And we're just like blowing ourselves up and just fighting them? They're like, geez.
I'm pretty sure that they would be like, we don't have to destroy them. They'll destroy themselves in time. Right. We have all the time in the world, so let's just let them do their thing. And that's what I think. Like, why would they want to like get involved with, destroying us as humankind when we're doing so well at that to begin with?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember my dad told me once he was reading this book. My dad was very like open to a lot of ideas. I mean, one time he told me when I was sitting in the backyard, and I grew up in the townhouse area as well. So, the little square backyards. Yep. And he was just sitting there, I was just playing in the grass. And I remember he said to me, people always talk about past lives and who were they in a past life? He goes, he said, you know what I think? He goes, I think I was a Chinese shoe salesman. And he goes, right? This is what my dad said. He goes,
Okay.
I always have dreams of shoes. And he's like, and there's so many Chinese people. He's like, if I was a past life, I was probably a Chinese person. And I remember I just looked up for my toy and I was like, okay, just went back to my toy. But now as I'm older, I'm like, that's a great thought, Dad. I wish we could have had that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, you don't quite understand or get some of the things that adults say at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it's only when you get older that you're like, you know what? That was a conversation that I would have liked to have. Like
Yeah.
it's like that transition. Like first you're sitting at the kids' table all the time, and that's where you want to be because like being around adults is so boring.
Yeah.
But then as you get older and you start kind of like eavesdropping in on the adult table conversations and you're like, that's actually some pretty cool stuff that they're talking about. And then eventually you make it to the adult table and like all the different topics that are just opened up to you is just so like cool and insane and funny and
Yeah.
very enjoyable. Like actually having like these deeper conversations with
Did
people.
you love that transition when that happened?
I did. I
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah.
It happened for me when I was like 13, 14. I'm just like, I'm done with the little kids. Like,
Yeah.
let's move it up a notch. Let's like get into the big leagues. Like, hey, adults, what you guys talk about?
Right.
And for the most part, I just sit there and listen. And then eventually I got to the point where, I gained enough knowledge in life that I could actually start contributing to some of these conversations. And some of them would like look at me like, actually, you make a lot of sense. That's a very intelligent thing that you said. Like, bravo, good for you. You're like really, you've got a good head on your shoulders.
Right. Right.
And I was like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had similar. Yeah, I'm sure there's even more similarities as we keep talking. It's 3 in the morning here, and I can hear I'm in a hotel, so I can hear
Oh,
the other person right now in the other room. They're probably fucking pissed at me.
oh
But it's
no.
like the culture here where like they'll never come and knock on the door. Like they'll never do that.
Yeah.
But I will. Like so, there's been like a girlfriend that would always fight with her boyfriend in my apartment, not
Hmm.
here, but like in my apartment. I like they'd get home so late and they'd fight like around 4 in the morning or something like that.
Oh.
And they were like right next to so what I did one time is I just opened the door. I stood in the hallway and I just went, shut the fuck up. And then you could hear them like look through the peephole. Like you could hear they stop into the door and you could hear it be like, oh, Weiguk. And like Weiguk is foreigner. So she could
Okay.
see me just standing there, like not even near the door, just standing in the hallway.
Oh my
And
goodness.
like, and then I went back in my room and I think they left. She left. She went I don't know where they went. But anyway,
So
um,
now that you're like more in that, like you're living it, are you still like, do you still have those Western tendencies come into play, or have you, changed your way of dealing with certain situations or approaching certain things?
yeah, that's an awesome question. I think like in the West, I feel like, oh, I mean, it's difficult. I don't know if I can say I'm so Asian. Is that problematic? But like, I really like the culture in some ways. But then when I'm here, people are like, you're so Western, right?
Mm.
I did a tarot cards a little while ago with a friend. And then I was like, should I do this? Should I do that? And the lady said, she spoke Korean to my friend, and my friend translated. She said, the lady says, you are so Western. So you should also keep a home base connected to the West. Like
Okay.
you're not going too deep in this culture. You're too Western. Anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think probably it's best to, walk the best of both paths, I guess, in
Yeah,
that
I think so.
respect.
Yeah,
You try to be as respectful to, the ways and the culture and the people
yeah,
that you're living with on a daily basis.
right.
But, you know, try also not to like lose who you are, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah. And that's like, I think also like asking, and I ask you like who you like finding yourself, because I still feel now I'm starting to kind of accept still parts of myself. Just being like, oh, this is who you really are, dude. Like, it's kind of now it's not even like, before it was like epiphany. It's like, oh, someone's like, you're like this. And I'm like, I am. But now it's like, cut the bullshit. That's not who you are. You're not going to want to do that. You won't be happy. This is, you know who you are. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a difference between people suggesting who you are versus who you actually are.
Right.
And to actually get at the root of who you are, you really need to do some deep digging and face some truths that you might not even want to face.
Right.
Be like, yeah, I'm actually this kind of a person.
Yeah.
But then, like, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And how are you going to work on yourself so that you either become a better person in this particular respect that you like about yourself,
right,
and work on getting better in the areas that, you know, you don't particularly like about yourself, to just become a better human being overall. And I think that's what most of us strive for, is just to be a better human.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
be the best version of yourself as a human, not try to be other people, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's a key thing, because we're all individuals.
How do you feel you're doing with that?
I think I've been doing pretty well with it. Like, as the years have gone by, I've become more comfortable with myself, and you know, I acknowledge my shortcomings, because
Right.
you know, I do have many. But I also acknowledge my strengths and what I can do and what I'm really good at. So, you know, just making sure that you build on those to get even stronger, and then the weaknesses that you have, just keep working on them so that you become okay with where you're at with those, you know, and maybe even build them into strengths. Because sometimes you can use, like, a weakness of yours can be a strength, you know, can be used as a strength in certain situations.
Sure. I heard someone say, I don't know who it was, not Steve Jobs, but someone was just saying, like, there's just way too many people. There's way too much competition. Just, you're never going to make your weaknesses better. Forget about the weaknesses. Just take your one strength and just fucking crush it with that strength. Just make that strength more and more and more and more and more. I mean, this is just one way to look at it. Like, I totally agree with everything you're saying as well. But lately I've started to try to resonate with that. Like, these are my strengths. That's it. Weaknesses, whatever their weaknesses, and I'm not even going to pay attention to them. We're not even going to work on them.
That's what I did when I was younger. and that's how I got to where I eventually ended up to now.
Right.
But it's been, like, I would say over the last 5 years that I finally decided that, okay, I'm freaking nailing my strengths. Right. I'm like, I've got those in spades. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Now it's time to work on the weaknesses.
Okay.
Bring those up a notch.
Okay.
Fine tune them a little bit, you know? And, you know, ultimately you're still going to have weaknesses. Like, to err is to human, right?
Right.
Or to human is to err.
Yeah.
So you just gotta just go with it. You accept that you make mistakes. You own up to your mistakes. I find that people generally tend to like you better when you do. Like, and I do that in work and relationships. It's just like, okay, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I will try to do better next time. No guarantees, because this is a weakness, but I will do my best. I will do my humanly best to try not to do that again. Yeah.
What is your Instagram thing? What is your IG, your model IG? It's
at Cypher901. So, and Cypher is PSYPHER and then 901.
Okay, dope. Okay, I'm going to stop it, but we're going to keep talking.
Okay.
And so everyone can be jealous about that. Thank you so much for doing this. Anything else before we go? Do you want to say anything? We'll do this again.
Yeah, we'll do it again. And like next time we could talk about D&D and like Netflix.
What we'll do is just like text it. Okay, we'll talk. Okay, guys, thanks for watching so much. Please leave a comment about how cool Michelle is. And yeah, this is really great. Thank you for doing this. And thanks. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy it. Okay.
Thanks for having me, Sean. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.